do I want to leave the US? Because I can. Yes, that's why. I will say that my inspiration, I have had some inspiration. I did not really travel until, for the first time really, like outside the country until 2016, and that was a present from my daughters for graduating from college. And we went to Costa Rica, and I thought it was like the best trip. So let me just preface by saying my daughters knew that I was extremely paranoid about flying in the first place. So what they did was they bought for Christmas 2015, they bought me luggage, and and then said, you need to get your passport, we're taking you to Costa Rica. So they couldn't like just, surprise me like right when we were leaving, I think in June. They had to give me some heads up so I can get mentally prepared to do this. So they brought me some nice luggage and said, get your passport together. And so I did, and we went, and it was a girls' trip, and my daughters and some of their friends, and it was just wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. Costa Rica is not my go-to spot, but the company that I had, and with my daughter and some other friends, it was perfect as far as I was concerned, because I had never gone like any place else outside of the country. So yeah, it was just perfect. We stayed in, I believe, Jaco, which, since I didn't know any better, I just didn't know any better. Okay, but it was a pleasure. Everybody was very, very nice. I just didn't know about going all the way into the jungle area to get to the beach side. And then we also, during that time, went to the, is it the National Forest? Where you can see the sloths and all the different animals. It was deep in the jungle. I can't remember the name of it, but I'll put that in here at some point. And yeah, it was just a beautiful experience. The girls went zip lining. That's not my jam. But yes, I was there to support and take pictures, and yeah, that was great. So that was my first time. So that's when it started. And then also that summer, my youngest daughter was graduating from college, and was going to Spain to teach English. And that just broke my heart. But my girls have always been travelers. As young adults, they just got up and left, and they were like, okay, we're going here. My oldest daughter at one point went to Norway for the summer to study abroad. So they have been my inspiration. I say all that to say they have been my inspiration. And I just didn't know what it looked like to be able to do like travel and work remote, but I had heard about people living this life of, working abroad and just, and they were digital nomads and all that. And I didn't know what it looked like, but I had read about it, and I found it very interesting. And I remember saying to myself at some point in the time of me going to college, which was 2012, I don't know, but somewhere between me actually putting things into action and me actually thinking about it, I had just said I would love to be able to do that, not knowing that in 2018 I would be leaving the company that I was working for, and I had an opportunity to become at another company, at a software company, in their accounting team, and the position turned into something that was remote. Initially, when I came there, I was supposed to be the face of the accounting team in Houston, but after a while, I realized that I was seeing no one's face. I would come into the office at this new job that I loved, and the team that I was actually managing was all over the world, and I was the only accounting person in the office in Houston. So eventually, and then on top of that, I was not seeing anybody else. I was not seeing the marketing team, the sales and marketing team. I wasn't seeing them because I was the only one there in this row of cubicles, and the sales and IT team were like on the other side of the office. So eventually, I think within 3 months, I went to my person I reported to, and I said, why am I here? Why am I in this office? I'm not seeing anybody. I can do this work from home. And anyways, we negotiated myself into just working from home, period. And which worked out great. I didn't know. Eventually, I was like, oh, well, you can work from anywhere. My mindset was not in the idea of I'm going to pack up and leave the country in 2018. I just realized that, you know, I'm focused. I have to still manage my team. I would go down to, because sometimes I get bored working just in my home with my cat. So I would go and work like at a coffee shop or something like that. So anyways, all that to say, the idea had been put in my head that I could work from anywhere, and the feelings started coming up, especially after going to visit my youngest daughter for the first time in Spain. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, this isn't, you know, such a far out idea, but it still was in the back of my head. It just wasn't quite there that you can actually take this job and run with it. And then found out that my youngest daughter was pregnant, and in Spain. And I'm like, I gotta be there for that. I have to be there. I really didn't quite ask them because I wasn't asking their permission. We are a global company. But I did give plenty of heads up. I gave like, you know, I think I let them know like 4 or 5 months in advance. Like, and then there were some high risk factors. I was like, I have to be there. And so I think that they were a little taken aback, but overall supportive. Working remote, if you have to be able to stay focused. My only distraction at that time was my grandcat, my cat, and my foster failed dog. Those were the only distractions that I had, and they were the poor, you know, situation with the pandemic. So actually, yeah, I keep saying 2020. 2020 was the year of the pandemic and with the lockdowns, but my daughter found out that she was pregnant in 2021. And so there was high risk. So that was the time. But I did let them know months in advance. I was like, I need to go, and I'll probably be there for about 6 months. That was the goal, to be there for 6 months to support my daughter and, you know, my son-in-law during this whole process. And also experience Spain. You know, it's beautiful there. So when I really started looking at actually moving someplace, I didn't quite know. In my mind, I felt like I had to first get into a rental that may be like a 3-bedroom home that I could actually rent. I didn't want to buy. I know I didn't want to buy. I know that's some people's jam. Not I. I want somebody else to have to fix everything. But it's whatever. But I felt like I had done a thing before where I had rented out like a 2-bedroom, and then I just fixed up the entire place, and then I just did short-term rentals, renting out my 2nd bedroom. So I wanted to create that whole, I guess, business model again. So I was looking at either doing it in Dallas, not so much, but in Houston, I felt like I could definitely find a nice 3-bedroom in the area that I like. So that way I would be able to travel. And I would be able to, you know, have somebody helping out with the rent where I don't have to pay like, you know, I don't know, $2,000 or, you know, $2,300 or whatever a month, if I can actually fix up the place and then rent out the 2 other rooms. Also, my idea behind that was, while I'm doing this traveling and discovering, that I would have somebody, you know, that's living there that would also maybe work with me to take care of my dog and my cat at the time. While I'm going on these, I guess, journeys to discover. Again, at this point, I had not really thought about actually just relocating. I just wanted to be able to travel more. And so that's where I was thinking. So here's what happened. So my lease is up in January 27th. And of course, if anybody knows, you have to give like 60 days notice. And then I'm looking at possibly relocating back to Houston, where I'm from. So I started looking at apartments here in Dallas just to get an idea. I do love my apartment where I live, but it is near Dallas Love Field Airport, and so it's just more industrial. I do like to be able to walk around in the neighborhood to be closer to trails. So that's all. But the drive to the nearest place to go walking is maybe 10 minutes, so it's fine. But anyways, I started looking at places. I'm not a suburb person. I'm an inner city kind of person. I like to be in the mix of things. So I started looking at units here, and in like uptown area of Dallas. The rent is just so crazy, and I spent like, you know, I spent an entire afternoon just going around to like maybe 5 or 6 properties within the area that I was looking at. And I have done this before. This wasn't the only day that I had done it, but this is the day that I came to my big epiphany. epiphany is that my apartment right now, 847 square feet, it's roughly $1,700 a month. For me to move into someplace closer into town, in my desired neighborhood, I'm looking at paying $1,900 a month for maybe something that's 600 square feet. And I'm just like, but why? Just the 600 square feet is not as nice. Like the cosmetic on the outside looks really, really great on a lot of these apartments. But once you get in, it's like, oh, well, this looks great on the outside, but the theme inside this unit is like circa 1980. What is going on? So that's when I just kept thinking, this is not what you're meant to do. You're not supposed to get another apartment here in Dallas. I said, okay, well, this means that you're going to have to go ahead and find some place in Houston. So when I was going to be coming to Houston to bring my dog down to the pet sitter because I was getting ready to go to Spain for another 2 months this year, I said, well, you'll just look at apartments when you come down. Simple enough. When you come to Houston, you'll just look at some apartments. And then that's when it kind of hit me. It's like, but why? It's like you can actually devise a plan that will allow you to go and just kind of discover and figure some things out. I didn't know until I knew. I literally, it was like something that was piecing together in my brain, but I didn't know until I actually knew. And that's when I knew, nope, you're not gonna get another apartment. You're gonna let this apartment go and you're not gonna get another one. And yeah, you're gonna just kind of take the show on the road, and since you're already working remote since 2018, take the job with you. I knew that eventually I was going to be leaving this job, but I planned on sticking it out at least for another year so I can, have that regular steady income coming in. And I like health insurance, especially here in the US. But when I sat down to really start doing some research, I mentioned in another vlog, I actually was talking to my daughter that lives in Spain, and I was like, I don't want to have to put this stuff in storage. And then, if I take this year off, I have to figure out what I'm going to do with my dog. Unfortunately, my grandcat had passed away just like a month before this big epiphany. But I don't know what I was going to do with my dog. And I was like, you're going to end up spending just as much trying to do this traveling and not keeping an apartment. And, putting stuff in storage, because I like my furniture. And, that's when my daughter said, but you can always get new furniture. And if you do move to Spain or Portugal or Mexico, you're not taking your furniture with you. You're taking some very important items with you, like things that are important to me, but you're not taking everything with you, right? Right. Okay. So I said, well, you know what? You're right. You're absolutely right. And then I also had this big epiphany that I needed to, if I was going to get any kind of storage at all, which I know I'm going to need storage, but if I was going to get any kind of storage at all, I was going to have to move it back to Houston. So that would entail me getting a U-Haul to move everything back to Houston that I wasn't going to that didn't end up selling, or that I didn't sell. And then I thought, there are freaking storages here that you can just do it quickly and just make sure that the important people in your life, i.e. my oldest daughter, has access to my information, and and God forbid if anything happens to me, she has access to get the things out that's needed. But for the most part, I'm like, you could just get the storage here for whatever you have left over after you sell. Okay. Let's do that, save some money. So then, again, taking my job with me was like, let me just check this out. And so I just started doing a little bit of research, and I was like, okay. But I went on YouTube and typed in black woman expat Mexico. And that's when everything kind of just like, yeah, that's what happened. I really hope you enjoyed watching this vlog about my epiphanies. Please make sure that you like and subscribe so you'll get a notification when I post the part 2.